I haven't talked about Florida in quite a bit, so today we're mentioning New York City's drunk uncle once again, but this time I brought in a special guest. Please welcome an actual Florida man, Adrian.
Hello everyone, my name is Adrian. Some of you may know me as a developer for the Roblox group Railway Engineering Studios, or just RES. Today I'm here with West of Hudson Studios to discuss a forgotten piece of history, something that used to be part of one of Florida's most well-known train lines. Let's dive right in.
Florida has a lot of variety when it comes to trains. You've got the Florida East Coast, Brightline, Amtrak, US Sugar, SunRail, and for today's topic, Tri-Rail. Tri-Rail is an 80-mile commuter line connecting Miami Airport and Miami Central Station with Magonia Park, a suburb just north of West Palm Beach. It shares its tracks with Amtrak's long-distance Floridian and Silver Star and CSX, whilst maintaining incredibly frequent service.
Throughout Tri-Rail's history, they've had pretty straightforward rolling stock. The commuter line began service in the middle of 1989 and had only 5 ex-Amtrak F40PHL-2 locomotives. Soon after, they acquired some newer F40PH-2C locomotives and a couple more ex-Amtrak F40PHRs. They would operate the commuter line alone until around 2003, when today's main star came into frame.
In 2003, Tri-Rail just received a massive grant from Florida's Department of Transportation. With this grant, they decided to purchase some rolling stock from a flashy, yet controversial, new company called Colorado Railcar.
Colorado Railcar was incorporated just a year prior in 2002. They specialized in making diesel multiple units, or DMUs, for the American market. DMUs are self-propelled train sets powered by a diesel engine inside the cars. The cars would be fitted with cables and some locomotive controls on one end or both to control the movement. Their first DMU, number 2002, was built to meet the FRA's new compression load requirements, which made it the first modern FRA-compliant DMU in the United States. The train toured the US between 2002 through 2004 to demonstrate the DMU to potential future operators. It even saw use on the famous Princeton Dinky close to the end of its tour. The rail cars were actually targeted towards younger commuter rail operators that were just starting out and needed some new trains to run. However, no operators were interested in operating the fancy new DMUs until around 2005, when Tri-Rail comes back into frame.
In 2005, Colorado Railcar built a bi-level version of their Ultradome DMUs, and Tri-Rail absolutely loved this idea despite them already having one of their Ultradomes stored somewhere. In that year, the first bi-level DMU would be built for Tri-Rail as part of an order for 4 DMU units that would be built from 2005 to 2007.
These new purpose-built rail cars are larger than the current Bombardier bi-level coaches, holding up to 188 passengers with room for bicycle and luggage. Tri-Rail possessed 4 DMU control cars and 2 unpowered trailer cars. The unpowered cars could hold up to 200 people. One DMU train usually consisted of 2 DMU power cars at each end of a trailer coach or 2, making sets 3 or 4 cars long. These trains were fancy. They had reclining and very comfortable seats in a 2+2 layout, and table seats as well. They also had enormous windows on the top level that wrapped around the roof for a little bit. These trains were also ADA compliant, having level boarding, which most railroads at the time were still trying to figure out.
Adrian actually had a nice experience riding on these trains from when they were in service because he's just that old. So let's shine the light on him as he tells of his experience.
Let me tell you that these cars were some of the weirdest cars that I really remember during that time. It's funny because I actually rode it between just one stop, not even. I remember getting on at the Metro Rail transfer, and it was weird because I saw the front. It didn't look like one of the normal Tri-Rails that my child brain could remember. Before I got on, I actually had asked my mom, "Are we getting on that? Are we getting on that?" And she was like, yes, we're getting on that. Yes, we're getting on that. I didn't think it was operational. I thought it was just like testing. Again, my little child brain just thought, oh, this is not something that I'm going to be able to see. I remember boarding, and it was just so different. It felt more like when I used to enter Amtrak, which was just, I would look at the coach seats and it felt so different. It didn't feel like we were just going to have like, a weekend in West Palm Beach and that's it. It was really more the chairs were really comfy. The chairs were extremely comfy, and it's something that I really can't explain a lot because, you know, this happened so long ago, and, you know, some stuff is fading, but, you know, I just remember just thinking what these cars were. What were these? Why are they looking like this? Why are they so different from what we're used to? And will they stay? Will they stay long enough for my adult self now to see them? Sadly, they didn't, but, you know, it was a chance that I'm glad I got.
These DMUs were fitted with two Detroit Diesel Series 60 600 horsepower engines connected to Voith hydrodynamic transmissions, making a total output of 1200 horsepower, making the DMU incredibly powerful yet surprisingly fuel efficient. Each DMU is capable of traveling up to 100 miles per hour. The bi-level DMUs were 19 feet and 6 inches tall and 85 feet long. DMUs can be either single-ended or double-ended. The bi-level DMUs are all flat cab units, but had the roof slanted on the front. Tri-Rail's DMUs were fitted with a rather unique Leslie RS3K throughout their short service lives. Here's a few examples.
Back at Colorado Rail headquarters, well, it's not looking good for them. All of a sudden, they just vanished from the market in 2008. This caused a big hit for potential operators, but before they left for good, they built one last railcar for Oregon's weird TriMet West commuter line. Let's just say they were incredibly quirky.
This was a huge hit because it meant that all of the DMUs were discontinued, meaning that nobody could design them anymore, leaving quite a few operators hanging with so few revenue trains and demonstrator units still intact. Also, with no FRA compliant DMU available, this left the door open for a small market that seemed to be growing rapidly. Bombardier, Siemens, Stadler, and Alstom offered DMUs, but are not available for the US market due to the strict FRA rules.
Tri-Rail at the time only had 4 DMU sets, which were the highest out of all the buyers. Unfortunately, these trains, like the majority of DMUs, suffered huge mechanical problems and were unfortunately retired in 2012, just after 7 years of service. The majority would get stored until 2023. One train set was sent to the SunRail Rand Yard in Sanford, Florida, months before the system opened, for testing purposes on their new commuter line. The train set was sent back to the CSX Hialeah Yard soon after Tri-Rail began revenue service to be stored once again. In 2023, after being stored for just over a decade, they were finally moved off Tri-Rail's property to be sold, or in very few cases, scrapped. But thankfully, most still survive today.
As of recording this video, a little-known scenic railway in Indiana called the French Lick Scenic Railway recently acquired a 3-car ex-Tri-Rail DMU set consisting of powered DMU 704 and unpowered cars 7001 and 7002. They are to be used on the railroad's various excursion trains. Even more recently, Power Car 706 was required, as shown on the railway's Facebook page. What about the others, you might be asking? Well, one DMU power car, number 751, was actually ordered by the Alaskan Railroad to specifically run excursions on the Glacier Discovery route between Anchorage and Grandview, Alaska, as a cab car. I have no idea if this railcar still runs, so if anybody has recently been to that part of Alaska or has seen that train operate, please do let me know in the comments. Power Cars 703 and 705 are currently preserved on static display at the Indiana Railroad Museum. I suppose Indiana's interesting after all.
Today, a very scarce amount of DMUs still operate in America, excluding the newer Stadler Flirt DMU variants. But thankfully, many of the past have been preserved, while some still operate on scenic railways, like Bud RDCs, and Doodlebugs on the scenic railways like Strasburg and the Reading, Blue Mountain, and Northern.
That pretty much just wraps up today's video. Thanks to Adrian for joining me on this unique trip down south again, and thanks to you for watching all the way through. If you enjoyed it at all, you can always like, subscribe, do whatever you want. I'm not going to tell you what to do. Anyway, thanks again to Adrian, and thank you all for watching. Have an awesome day.